all my life. Been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life I've been grinding all my life. Look, all my life. Been grinding all my life.
Darren and Sterling right here on ESPN Kansas City, 1510 AM, 5 FM, 1510.com, Facebook Live, and on Periscope on Twitter. I am Sterling Holmes live in studio. Darren Smith live at his own studio. A lot of stuff to get into today. We'll be joined by Alec Lewis, Royals beat writer for The Athletic, in the second segment. Darren, how you doing?
Doing good. It's interesting. I need to. I go out today, braving this weather. One, because I felt sorry for you yesterday, so I said, let me go out and see what he's experiencing. I go and I get this slow leak plugged in my vehicle. I go, get it done. Next thing you know, I'm driving home and I'm like, why is my, and I asked them to check all the tires, check the pressure, make sure it's good. They say it is. Get on the road, come back, and I'm like, I get to my house, I'm like, wait a second. Why are all four of my tire, levels all off? So I'm like, man, so as soon as we get through with the show, I got to go back to where to where I was to get my truck looked at or whatever and jump on these people, man. Good help is hard to find, even in cold degree weather like we got. So other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah. So we both had car issues, but we're both fine. We both made it. We're both here. We both got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Again, we'll talk Royals with Alec Lewis, second segment.
Looking forward
First,
to it.
though, I want to talk about the potential blockbuster trade that has taken Twitter by storm, the potential Panthers and Texans trade for Deshaun Watson, where I see, and was it 3 first-rounders or is it 2 first and a second?
Three.
3 first-rounders, Christian McCaffrey, straight up for Deshaun Watson. Which team says no?
Well, I was the Houston Texans because they'll probably think they need to get 6. I mean, I don't know how true those reports are. I mean, I've read reports and I'd like to think it's true, but here's the thing. No trade can get done without the blessing of Deshaun Watson because he has a no trade agreement in his contract. And to his credit, he doesn't want a team to be depleted of weapons or opportunities to build around them. So, I don't think Carolina is one of those teams where he's looking to go to, and I highly doubt that if that were the case. But if he did go there, he would want Christian McCaffrey there because he wants somebody. Right now, who's he have on offense in Houston? So, I think to his credit, I don't think he wants to go there. I think he would try to block anything unless you can give up. I mean, you can give up a first-round draft pick, and I don't know how much money they have cap-wise to go out and get someone, but, they talked about this on one of the shows, and we talked about it before, that, if I'm Jacksonville, why not go after him? I mean, you give up, you give up one, or you give up your first-round draft pick, more likely going to be Trevor Lawrence. You give him up for Deshaun Watson, and you get $1 million in salary cap where you can build that team around him. Players will come down to Jacksonville or Miami someplace because from someone who just came from Tampa, trust me when I tell you, the weather is great down there, even in Jacksonville, but also there's no state tax. So you actually save a lot more money by playing in Florida than you would if you're playing, now granted, you've saved Texas as well, but, but again, right now, nobody wants to play for Houston.
I guess it's just me. I think that he wouldn't mind a trade to Carolina. One, you're getting out of the dysfunction that is Houston. Carolina doesn't have the quite dysfunction that a lot of teams in the NFL have. They seem to be a decently run franchise. Yes, you got to give McCaffrey. At some point, I think we need to sit back and realize, okay, running backs aren't the biggest difference maker. And, if you're Deshaun Watson, you don't want to hand the ball off to him anyways. You don't want those calls. You want to be able to spread the ball downfield, which you have. You have weapons in DJ Moore, young wide receiver, Robbie Anderson, great wide receiver. You have Curtis Samuel, another young wide receiver. You have weapons. You have guys to pass the ball to. Yeah, you don't really have a tight end. And if you get rid of McCaffrey, you're rolling with probably Mike Davis, or you probably pick up a new guy in the draft. I think if you're Carolina, you do this trade every single time. You do
Well,
this trade, every day a week and twice on Sunday.
well, of course, if you're Carolina, you do the trade because I mean the reports are out there. Yeah, if you're Carolina, yeah, you want to do this. I'm just saying, no, but I think your initial question was which team says no. I'm saying the Texans would probably be the ones to say no, just because they just they may want to try to get even more out of them than 3 first-round draft picks and starter, which is one of the things that they claim that they want. They want somebody on defense as well. So to that end, I can see them saying no, but they'd be saying no to cut their nose off to spite their faces. But again, the pushback I say with Carolina is like you said, you're struggling past Mike Davis to who would you throw it to? I mean, that's just like saying, okay, you got Kenny Stills, someone in Houston right now. I mean, that's who you.
No, come on. No.
No.
Robbie Anderson.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I
DJ Moore and Curtis.
No. You're fine.
And Curtis Samuel. You have 3 wide receivers who are solid.
Hold on. I just said you were right. I forgot about the other 2, and I remember watching the Thursday night game. So no, you're right. You're right about that. So I'm gonna take that come up on the air. You're right about that. But you still want to have a Christian McCaffrey because I mean, look, he's another 1,000-yard receiving running back as well. So I'm saying he gives you that additional weaponry in the offense, whether you're trying to run the ball or pass the ball. And look, you want him in that backfield, Sterling, because you want to be able to have some type of play action, some play action calls going against the defense to keep them honest. Otherwise, I mean, they're going to be back to try to pass against you each and every down. So, I mean, now this gentleman says no weapons in Houston or Carolina. He thinks it's a lose-lose for Watson. Again, I think he would have more weapons offensively with them, but they might also be better defensively as well. And now you said that they're a good organization. I do a little pushback on that because they're under new management. They just got a new head coach last year. I think he had his first year in the NFL. I don't know what they're going to look like defensively as well, Sterling. So, I mean, I'd be worried about that. And then, look, they're still kind of in the rebuilding phase. Obviously, if they were to give up the 3 first-rounders as well as Christian McCaffrey, I believe they would also have to throw in Teddy Bridgewater as well, because what are you going to do? Because you got that contract. You did sign him to that contract last year. So basically, Houston would get those 2 starters on offense plus 3 first-round draft picks. So, I mean, again, I would say yes if I'm Houston because of what I could get. And obviously, I would also say that as well for them. But, Houston, they've been arrogant this far along the way. And we also look, I think I read a report where the Denver Broncos might be interested in getting into that. Now, if they want to give up, you guy from Lee Summit, Drew Luck or whatever. I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, I don't think he was a franchise quarterback there to begin with. But who else would you give up if you're the Denver Broncos? I mean, there are opportunities out there. Again, I'm still kind of stuck on the 49ers. I mean, I'd like to see him. I like to see him in the NFC versus because I would like to see future Super Bowls between he and Patrick Mahomes versus just little races throughout the. To me, look, this is outside of this bowl, which it didn't live up to the hype because the Chiefs stunk this year. There wasn't really that type of quarterback matchup that we've been looking forward to seeing such a long period of time before Mahomes and Brady. But if we can get a Mahomes Watson, if he's with the 49ers, think about it. If Deshaun Watson was with the San Francisco 49ers 2 years ago, or last year they played against the Chiefs. Do the Chiefs come out, 31-20? Because Deshaun Watson maybe hits that pass to Emmanuel Sanders that Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't hit.
Yeah, I mean, Deshaun Watson is such a much better quarterback than Jimmy G. I just don't know what San Francisco would have to give up to even bring in and entertain, because I don't think that Houston would even want to take on Jimmy G, let alone with the contract. Jimmy G is a middling quarterback with a large contract who can't stay healthy. I don't know many teams.
Well, you're going to have a contract issue regardless of quarterback, just
Sure.
because of the nature of the position. So, I don't want to say that Garoppolo's contract is going to be an issue because even if you get this rookie, if you get the draft pick, you're gonna have to pay him a decent amount. Granted, it's the first and it's slotted, so I mean that money is what it is. But but you'll still be able to do well. That's kind of different. But if you get Teddy Bridgewater, he's not making Jimmy Garoppolo money, but he ain't making peanuts either.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater was, I think, around $25 million per season. I do want to give some pushback
and Garoppolo's like, I think, 27, 28. So it's not that big of a difference in the bigger scheme of things.
I do want to give some pushback on someone on Facebook Live talking about how those receivers were average at best. Come on now. We don't be casual. These Panthers wide receivers took a huge step forward. Robbie Anderson had over 1,000 yards. You had a 23-year-old DJ Moore with over 1,100 yards, and then you had Curtis Samuel, a 24-year-old with 850 yards. These are young dudes. These are growing guys. Two guys went over 1,000, one guy over 850, and you had Teddy Bridgewater throwing the football. Those guys are getting separation. If you watch the Panthers, those guys were not the issue. Teddy struggled a little bit, and then the defense struggled. You're right. That defense is rebuilding, and this Panthers team is struggling. If you're Deshaun Watson, you go to Carolina, you have to realize it's not going to be an immediate you're making the playoffs. That's not going to be the case. So if you're Deshaun Watson, though, you have to value how much do you really want to get out of Houston. Is that if that's your number one priority, then yes, you will go to Carolina. That won't be an issue. But if you are saying I want to go and leave Houston and go to a contending team, that's really going to be tough. That's going to be tough to find.
Well, look, I mean, obviously the team went 5-11 last year. Much of that was on Bridgewater, but look, they were in a lot of the games. You got to remember, they put up 31 points against Kansas City. So, look, they lost to the Raiders with 34-30. I mean, they were in a lot of the ball games that they lost. They lost to the Chiefs, obviously, again, 33-31. They lost by 23 against the Bucs. But, I mean, there were games that the Vikings, the Broncos, they lost 28-27, 32-27. If you have a Deshaun Watson, maybe he makes all the difference in the world. So, I mean, one player can make that difference, i.e. Tom Brady. So he can shift the pendulum. I'm not saying that he would take him to a Super Bowl contender. I think obviously Tampa Bay was much more Super Bowl ready than what Carolina is. But again, for me and my preference, I like to see him in the NFC. But I would like to see him with a good team. I'm not just trying to put him in the NFC just so he can just get away from Houston. I want to see him in a winning situation where, I think if he's with the 49ers, I think that would take the NFC West to a whole new level with him, Kyler Murray, Russell Westbrook, and then of course Matthew Stafford in LA. I think that would end up being the strongest division in all of football, just based off your starting quarterbacks alone. And it would be relegated to the defense, because I think even then something like that, I think that is, I think would be worth it for Deshaun Watson, and I think he's worth it. At the end of the day, I'm not sure whatever asking price Houston is asking for would still be enough, for Deshaun Watson. I think he's more than worth it. I think outside of Patrick Mahomes, I think this is the best player in football, especially at quarterback. I think I believe he's better than Aaron Rodgers as well. Rodgers has a better record, had a better team this year, but I still think Deshaun Watson behind Patrick Mahomes is just that good.
Yeah, I think you're also going off of, and you're hoping for the longevity. Deshaun's so young, and you think he's this good now, and you still think there's room to grow, which is the part. You're getting him for now as well as the future. Again, we're going to be joined by Alec Lewis of The Athletic to talk Royals in the second segment. Before we go to break, I want to ask you. We're hearing reports, Carson Wentz and the Colts. The reports were Carson Wentz and the Colts gave up a second and a third rounder. What do you make of that?
That's not bad at all, really. A second and third rounder, you keep your first. Oh, if I'm no, I don't know who's Carson Wentz with right now.
He's still with the Eagles.
Eagles. Oh, Carson Wentz. I keep thinking of Carson Palmer. That's why. Okay. No, for a second.
Palmer.
Hey, dude, trust me, man. Hey, look.
What year is this? 2008.
Exactly. No, Carson Wentz. No, I would. Oh, if want to give that up, first of all, if you feel it, you're taking it because you're getting that big off of your books. And
Yeah.
for the Colts, man, to be able to get Carson Wentz for just, for that. Now, granted, yeah, you're taking on his cap, you're taking on his contract, but look at it. Your guy, um, Phillip Rivers, he played all 16 games last year. Took you to a wild card game. Probably could have won the game or whatever. To me, I like the move because one, you got an offensive line that if you can protect Phillip Rivers, I believe you can protect Carson Wentz unless Carson Wentz tries, just decides to run into danger. But with that offensive line, he would be protected. You have a pretty good running back. You got some receivers. You got ownership. You got Chris Ballard out there. It's a GM. I think it would be a perfect situation for Carson Wentz if that presumptive talk would actually pan out. I think it would be
Yeah.
good for him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is a much better trade
That'd
for
be
both teams.
That'd be a win-win
because
situation all the way around.
Yeah, because if you're the Eagles, you obviously want to get a first rounder. You want to get something more for him. But at the end of the day, it's a large contract. It's a quote-unquote injury-prone guy, and he doesn't want to play for you. He already said, he said he doesn't want to play for you. So at that point, you got to say, you're going to pay this guy $120 million to sit on the bench. That ain't going to happen. At least recoup draft capital. The Colts, you're like, do we want to give up a second and third rounder? But if he can reclaim anything what he was in his almost MVP season, I think that's worth it. He never had an offensive line. He's never had any of these stud wide receivers outside of Zach Ertz at tight end. I think this is a win-win for both teams. If a team can get his potential, it's a team like the Colts who have this stud offensive line, because that was always the issue when you dove into the numbers, was always he was always pressure. This is just, to me, this is just a situation, a very rare one that we tend to not see in the NFL.
Yeah, and it's funny you said it because when you sit back and you look at it again, if you're Philly would take a 7th round draft pick just to get Carson Wentz off the books. I mean, that's just because even if he were to be cut, or if they were to cut him, he would cost so much dead money. I think next year would be like $50-some million. I mean, that's a lot of money to try to fill the team without him under. So if you can get that off your books now, again, I don't know whether or not you make the trade, whether or not if you're Indy, you try to restructure that contract to where it fits underneath it. But again, you get him out of a situation where he doesn't want to be a backup, he doesn't want to be there anymore, and especially when you got especially just a scenario that surround him up there. You had a coach that didn't want you, even though he's not there anymore. You had a coach that didn't want you, and so right now you're not trying to go into a situation where, because I think I read reports where Jalen Hurts is bringing the offense together, to work out during the offseason versus Carson Wentz. So he's already trying to take that leadership role and trying to take that, first, those first place starter reps positions, away from him without the workouts even taking place right now. So so if I'm Carson Wentz, I'm getting out of it. And if I'm Philly, look, anything 7th round and above, I'm taking it to get it off the books, because at the end of the day, he didn't want to be there. You don't want to be there, And if it was something that was, just quietly, kind of like Detroit, LA Rams type thing, you might have gotten a trying draft pick or whatever. But because of how this all played out, in the whole scheme of things, you got to take what you can get. And if you can get 7th round or 2nd and 3rd, as you mentioned, take it. Yeah, you better take it while the iron is hot.
Let's take a quick break. That's what we will take. So we'll take this quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Alec Lewis of The Athletic to talk some Royals baseball. We'll be right back after this.
Are you looking for unique sporty clothing and merchandise that makes you stand out from the crowd? Do you love Kansas City sports teams? The Cherry Company designs and creates fashion-forward gear for athletes, avid sports fans, and everything in between. Check out our famous Casey Mahomes denim jacket at cherrysportsgear.com or find it in stores in the Made in KC, Lee Summit, or Plaza location. Sport style, sport local, sport Cherry. Want a 20% off discount? Mention 810 Sports in store or use code 810 online. Stay on top and visit cherrysportsgear.com today.
When you're thinking about why not let jazz
for you. Let's say, hey, let the good time play. That's what we do at Jazz. Papa Vic here to tell you about what's happening at your favorite restaurant, Jazz, a Louisiana kitchen. We still got you down? No worries, we're open. Come in and let Jazz cook for you. We partner with Proactive Protect to provide nanotechnology protection that sanitizes all our tables, chairs, and the interior of the restaurant. So come on in. Everybody is safe. Tired of your mama's cooking? Check out our website, jazzkitchens.com, and place your order online or through Menufy. Not comfortable coming in? Check out our dedicated curbside parking spots, and we'll bring the taste of New Orleans to your car. 3 locations, the original at 39th and State Line, and the Legends of Village West, our newest location in Independence at I-70 and 291, just east of the Cable Dahmer Arena. Jazz, with a Dixieland band and a sultry day, and everybody. If you're dreaming about New Orleans, that's Jazz New York cooking up for you. Jazz, there's always a party every night.
A KC tradition since 1957, Hereford House is a locally owned steakhouse that has served generations of Kansas Cityans. Hereford House exclusively serves certified Hereford beef, which has been proven to be naturally more tender and flavorful than other brands. All their steaks are aged 21 days, hand-cut daily, and grilled over an open charcoal flame. This process provides a wonderful aroma and delicious flavor that cannot be duplicated by any other cooking method. Hereford House, Leawood, Independence, Shawnee, and Zona Rosa.
At Central Bank of the Midwest, we are focused on building strong communities across Kansas City. I'm Bill Ferguson, President and CEO. Our strong roots began more than 100 years ago in the heart of the Midwest and continue today across 5 states and 67 communities. Central Bank of the Midwest brings you the best of both worlds, a strong community bank with the resources and technology to deliver a legendary banking experience. Central Bank of the Midwest, strong roots, endless possibilities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Oh, ship! I need to get this package downtown by noon.
Don't worry. And delivery service by Z-Trip. It's Z-Shipping.
Are you shipping me?
No, we're shipping your packages.
For the quickest, affordable, on-demand courier service, visit zshipping.com. zshipping.com. Let Z-Ship help you with your delivery needs. That's zshipping.com.
Oh.
Welcome back to Darren and Sterling right here on ESPN Kansas City, 1510 AM, 94.5 FM, 1510.com, Facebook Live, and Periscope on Twitter. We are joined now by the great Alec Lewis, beat writer, Royals beat writer for The Athletic. Alec, how you doing?
I'm really good now that you're playing right above it before I joined. If we could make that happen every time, that would be great.
I'll make a note. So,
of course,
we're going to talk a lot of Royals here. We'll finish up with some Mizzou, so that way we don't get depressed the entire show after that just beat down they took last night. So we'll start with the Royals. You, being a beat writer, had a chance to hop on a call around 2 with Mike Matheny. What was the update with the new skipper?
Yeah, it was more introductory, just kind of as we do. Usually we do it in person, but life changed last year. You guys probably aware of it. And so, yeah, no, it was introductory, just talking about just the guys reporting there are going to be 22 bullpens being thrown, I believe he said, this afternoon. So they're going to watch it. It's pretty regimented with the protocol. They've got like 2 different setups, some experienced guys in one area of the surprise clubhouse and guys in another. And no, I asked him about like what the vibe is. He's like, you don't really force a vibe. It's just there's a feeling of momentum, of positive momentum with the moves they've made this offseason, and also with just the way they finished last season. He mentioned like it was one of the hardest playoffs he had to watch, just knowing how good the team was playing at the end of the year and not being a part of that. So no, you could tell there's excitement. There's a lot of interesting little tidbit storyline type things. So it should be interesting to see how this thing progresses.
With Mike Matheny, do we all need to give him an apology? I know I was just when he was signed originally, I was not easy on him. I ripped into him. I said, why are we hiring a guy who struggled with young guys in St. Louis? This makes no sense. Dude is the most unanalytic driven guy out here. And then he comes in the year 1. Not only dives into analytics. Not only does he seem to be great with the young guys, he has this winning culture, this great persona about him. Do we need to maybe start saying, okay, we were wrong about this initial first impression?
Yeah, I think I still have nightmares sometimes going through my I'll go through my Twitter feed of when Mike Matheny's name surfaced and what people said. It doesn't. It was always so interesting to me. I mean, especially as I dove into it and started reporting kind of just some St. Louis stuff and what had happened since. It's always so interesting. Like we give people so many. We like second chances are such a big thing in this country and just in life and. I mean, here's a guy who had as much success as he had, and then obviously there were certain reports and certain relationship stuff. But I remember I had a conversation with Jordan Hicks's mom, and there was this whole thing in St. Louis about, I don't know, I guess just Jordan Hicks and some of the veterans. And Jordan, I remember I got on the phone with her. She's like, "Yeah, we love Mike Matheny. We thought he was like great. And for Jordan, he was such a big mentor." And I was like, "Well, you really wouldn't have thought that reading." What you read, and then you mentioned just he comes in last year. He took an analytics course. He comes in. He's very flexible with the bullpen. He's just and a guy who I think is just embracing. He loves the job that he has. He's embraced this opportunity. The Royals culture, I think he's assimilated into it well. And just from day one last year, when I was not in this freezing cold Kansas City weather, but in the sun in Arizona, I mean, you could tell people took to him, both executives and scouts and everybody. And so I don't know if I don't think I owe him an apology because I think I tried to view it as just as clear slate as possible. That's what the job requires. But he's definitely been impressive, and his energy is palpable. There's no question about it.
So I'm curious. This is Darren. I'm curious. Now on the call earlier, I was supposed to be on it, but I was on track. I was sidetracked. I did say that Asa Lacy, Josh Stuman, Carlos Sanabria, and Andres Sotilid, I guess they're going to have a delayed start to spring training. Did he go into any explanation as to why that would be?
Yeah, no specifics. No specifics there. It's. I mean, I think we learned last year. It's just there's certain protocol that exists for certain guys. Some of it might be travel stuff. Some of it, I mean, I would be speculating and out of turn to comment on any of it. So nothing specific, but yeah, he did. I mean, there are a lot of guys there. There are a lot of guys that have been there, have worked out in Arizona. So I think just group wise, he was happy with the group that they have there to get this thing going.
Alec Lewis of The Athletic joining us right now on Darren and Sterling. You wrote an article on The Athletic, The Realist Guide to How a Perfect Royals Season Would Play Out. As a realist over here, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm a realist over here. I'm not going to say they're going to win 95 games. What was your take on a successful 2021, a real 2021 season for the Royals?
Yeah, it was kind of the idea of that story was kind of, I mean, first, it's something that Russ and Dodd had used in the past, so that was part of it. But also, I mean, it'd be easy to just say, like, here's where they're going to finish. And you can look at these record projections, and you'll see, like, Picada has 71, Fangraphs has 79, and some people out in the desert have, like, 72, 73. And so, I don't know. I could have just written a sentence and said maybe they'll win 75. But I just thought it would be fair to kind of break it down, looking beyond the record, what a successful season would be. And I looked at 10 specific things. I could try to remember them and rattle them off, but that would probably be tough. I think just kind of the generic part of it was, I mean, look, Adalberto Mondesi's success and proving that he's more the guy who finished last year than started it is going to be really important. I think Andrew Benintendi and Carlos Santana, the money that the Royals have spent and prospects they spent to get those guys, to see them bounce back, that's going to be really important. And then I also think just a huge piece is the prospect side of things. Bobby Witt Jr., some of the other hitting prospects, and then the pitching prospects too. I mean, this I don't know if you want to call it a rebuild or whatever you want to term it. I mean, the 2018 MLB draft class that the Royals had with as many pitchers as they had has been so fruitful, almost kind of historically fruitful, and it has more. There's more fruit to that labor coming. And so I think those pitching arms staying healthy and continue to progress is another way, and probably maybe the biggest that this season can ultimately at the end be chalked up as a positive.
I love the Mondesi part because my dumbass will be waiting until he's 35 before I finally give up on him. But, he'll be 35 and have done the exact same thing every single year. And I'll say, but guys, the potential he has. He's that one dude that has so much tantalizing potential, all of the tools you could possibly want in a player. He seems to put it together for stretches. I mean, he had that torrid stretch last year where you go, holy bleep, this might be the next Francisco Lindor or the next Trevor Story. What are the odds he's actually able to put it together for a full season? And if so, is he like the missing piece, basically? Is Mondesi going to be the guy where if he's this stud player, the Royals will go as far as he takes them, or is he just going to be just a piece or a cog in the machine?
People who know me know I'm like an optimist, like just ridiculously sometimes. And some people with Mondesi are pessimistic. They're like, look, we've seen this for 4 years. He's up, he's down, he's good, he's bad, he's terrible, he's great. And it's like, I'm just not going to buy this. Me personally, again, this is maybe my optimistic nature, but I can't not think about how he finished last season as the number one ranked wins above replacement player in the entire game. And I can't come to, I have to believe that that's in there on a more consistent basis. Is he going to cut out the swing and miss? I doubt it. For an extended period of time, it's hard for guys who have traditionally swung and missed a lot over their course of their career to just all of a sudden be strike zone awareness guys. So I don't think that's going to happen. But when you look at his power and ability, and just think about what he can be, I think he's a guy who can be that missing piece, as you mentioned. It can be not the missing piece, but just a piece that really. I think a lot of people with this team, they're like, they can surprise some people. Well, one of the main ways that might be able to happen is if Adalberto Mondesi puts together a consistent run where he is one of the most exciting players in the game. And I also think, and I've written about this, but we don't, I mean, last year was such a challenging year for so many people in this world and for so many different reasons. And Adalberto Mondesi, here's a young guy, human being struggling mightily on the biggest stage, dealing with these protocols he's never dealt with. Mentally, it was just I mean, there's no way it couldn't have been a hurdle. And so to have just experience with some of these protocols, to come into this season healthy, I think it's going to do wonders. And again, this is my optimism speaking, but I really think this Royals team nationally hasn't gotten the credit. And I also think he hasn't for what he can ultimately be. And I think this could be the year, and it would be important for the Royals if it was the year that he finally kind of broke out.
Alec Lewis, Royals beat writer for The Athletic, joined us on Darren the Show today here on ESPN Kansas City, 94.5 FM, 1510 AM. Alec, I'm not sure, were you on the Zoom call last week with Dayton Moore?
After the trade, yes, I was. Yeah, I mean, it's been a blur, but yeah. I don't know. I'm on so many of these things. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was in attendance. I hope.
Well, no. I mean, the reason why that, I mean, I was on. It was like, I think the Royals sent out a tweet at like 9:50, and it was at 10 o'clock, and then it just seemed like it never ended. Because I remember logging off for like 10:20, 10:24, and Dayton Moore was still going strong, and I was just like, man, I'm not going to stay up all night for this, off of this trade, But listening to him speak and just thinking about the moves that they have made so far this offseason, Stone and I, we kind of go back and forth. I know yesterday he talked about them having a 10% chance of making the playoffs. What is your feeling, or where do you think the team lies in trying to make a push for the playoff now, looking at their their lineup 1 through 9 versus what and I believe Dayton may have said that they may have another $5-10 million that they can play with to maybe sign someone else, before the season starts. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, Dayton said that night, I think he's like, we believe we can win. And I mean, belief is such an interesting thing, right? It's like, how do you measure it? How do you know how much is just kind of to galvanize a group together? So it's tough to gauge. But I mean, look, if you start a season with guys who are healthy and who have ability, and you rattle off some of these names and what they can ultimately do, there's a lot of ifs involved, right? Like if Jorge Soler stays healthy, and if Mondesi produces, and if Salvador Perez can do anything like he did last year, and if some of these arms can take the next step. But I mean, I think the Royals feel that, look, I mean, we believe we can win. If those ifs turn out positive, like, why not? I mean, if you look back at last year, they split games with the Twins. They split games with Cleveland. The White Sox beat them 9 out of 10 times. So getting back at the White Sox is going to be a test this year. But I mean, if they improve and some of those teams worsen, then I don't know why the Royals wouldn't feel as if they are in the mix. I mean, I don't think it's ludicrous. If you look at what they did last year, and you think about how they improved and other teams worsened, I mean, how could you not think that you could at least compete with the teams in your division, which is part of the goal? So, again, as I said, like, it's going to be interesting to see how this thing progresses. Injuries play such a big role, especially after such a weird season like last year. But I mean, again, if you look at what happened last year and you think about the teams and their off seasons and their vibe and their culture and their progressing belief, it's hard to not think that they're going to be in these games at the very minimum. And where that takes them, I mean, the game will tell us, but that's kind of where things stand.
So I'm with you, and I'm with you to the point, I don't know if 23 things or whatever it is has to go right. It's almost as if 23 things just don't have to go wrong for this team to compete, which is, I think, a different scenario that's been in the past. One of the scenarios and players I'm very interested in is Hunter Dozier. He had that one amazing season, and since then he's been average to below average. He struggled last year in the short, which a lot of players did, but he struggled in that. And I want to see if Hunter Dozier is going to be the future third baseman, since he's going back to third base, or if he just had that one great season and that was it. We got lucky, flash in the pan. What do you think Hunter Dozier is realistically going to be?
Well, it's interesting because the comment a lot of people have made nationally too, and I've heard this, and it's like, yeah, he had a down 2020. Okay, well, I don't know how many people know, like, he dealt with a pretty tough case of COVID, and the symptoms and the effects afterward were tough, and they affected him. And still, if I'm not mistaken, his OBP hovered around like 330, 340. He walked more than any other Royals player. So his strike zone awareness was there. It was just kind of power and pop. And so, I mean, I think he can be a guy who people nationally, again, don't talk about that surprises people. He's a former first-round pick. He's a versatile guy. Has 2 kids, a family. He's really kind of matured throughout the course of his career. Not that he was ever not mature, but it's just he's gotten older, he's gotten stronger, he's gotten more experience. And he's another one. You mentioned it's like maybe 23 things, but I mean, he's another one that it's like you could realistically and understandably say he's going to have the best year of his career. I don't know why we would think otherwise, because he's healthy and because he's has the experience he has. And if he does that, whether he's hitting 5th in the lineup or 6th or wherever, he's a guy who really could give pitchers fits and do danger and just extend the lineup in a way that it has not been extended these last couple of years.
One thing that I want to ask you is the rotation. With it being a shortened season last year, guys weren't throwing 180-plus innings. This year, I don't know if a lot of guys are going to be expected to go 180-plus innings, 200-plus innings as a starter, which was already kind of the marker since pitchers don't seem to go as deep as they once did. Do you think that the Royals and their young depth gives them a huge advantage considering guys may be shuffling up and down more so than in any other season?
Yeah, I think it could be looked at as an advantage. I mean, I think I just more than anything, I don't know, it's itching prospects mean so much, both for like how this roster is made up now and the rotation, what the roster could mean going forward. Pitching is the most, I guess, cherished aspect. Young pitching is the most cherished piece in baseball, and so for these young guys to progress and then to potentially have so many that you could trade some for bats to fill out a lineup is a really good place to be. And so, well, yes, I think it's an advantage to be able to go into the season knowing you have these guys as depth. I think it's also somewhat of it has to be somewhat of a worry and concern that, like, I mean, we need these guys healthy, and we just don't know, given the nature of this last year and the last 2 years, like how to really keep them healthy. It's just a new kind of sphere, a new like horizon to be in. And so that's concerning, worrying, and taxing. But I mean, you mentioned this rotation. You've got Brad Keller, you've got Brady Singer, Chris Bubich, Mike Minor, Danny Duffy. They'll stretch out Jacob Junis. Irvin Santana's there. So you have pieces to kind of carry you. And then to make sure you keep these guys healthy, you could conceivably pass the baton off to a Daniel Lynch or a Jackson Tovar like midway through and keep them healthy and keep them good. And I think that's what they'd like to do. That's what would make sense. It's just going to be interesting to see how they balance it and just if these guys can stay healthy. It's a concern for everybody around baseball, not just the Royals.
Alex, the question, my question for you, I got a chance to cover a lot of those games last year when they didn't have fans. Are the Royals looking, because I haven't heard anything, but are the Royals, or do you know if Major League Baseball is looking to have fans in attendance this year? I know they did, obviously, for the World Series, but are they looking to have, fans at Kauffman, and do we know if there's going to be any type of gradual, type of implementing fan attendance at the games this season?
Yeah, I know the Royals want to have fans. I think they wanted to last year, but they want to have fans. It's just a matter of kind of crossing the T's, dotting the I's. I think it could look a lot like what the Chiefs did at Arrowhead Stadium and having a type of pod format. I think season ticket holders would probably get priority. I haven't seen any formal announcement or any type of word on this. I know they want to have fans. I think they want a game. I know they want to just be relevant in this city and keep baseball relevant. It's I mean, if you talk to Dayton Moore or this front office, it's something they care so much about. Just keeping baseball relevant for the future generation because of what it provides for relationships, for outlet for kids. And so, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see fans. And the more, I think for everybody, the more we see in the healthiest manner, the better as a sign for where we're at as a community, city, country.
So, Alec, before I let you go, I got to hear a rant. We're both Mizzou guys, both watched that abysmal, gut-wrenching. I described it as this is what happens every year. It's like going on a roller coaster that's only half finished, and you just fall face first, and you just crash, and you're injured, and you're in the hospital, and then by the time next year comes around, you get back up, and you go, oh, but maybe this year they'll have it finished, and it'll be different, and then you just crash again. That's what I describe this Mizzou team as. How would you describe this Mizzou team and what's going on?
Well, I mean, I'll start here. Like, you don't have Jeremiah Tillman, and so you can't talk about this without mentioning that. He's probably – I think this team has two consistent players, and I think it's Drew Smith and Jeremiah Tillman. And Xavier Pinson, I don't – sometimes he's going to look like Russell Westbrook, and sometimes he's going to look like me. You've got – some of these guys, like Mark Smith, I don't know. He is as ice cold as the street that I'm looking at out my window recently.
Did he forget how to play basketball?
Great defender, not really sure what he gives you on offense because he doesn't give you anything. Kobe Brown, look, he's progressed. He's younger, but I just don't know where he fits. So it's this team. I'm being half facetious with this, half not. It's I think the veteran leadership is important and will be important. But it's hard for me to think this team has a chance to really do much. They could lose in the first game of the tournament. I wouldn't be surprised at all. They could win if they make some shots, but I don't know if Mitchell Smith is going to make any shots ever again. No, I don't. It's an interesting team. I think we've talked about this, Sterling, but it's like the worrisome aspect for me is for Missouri. This is like, wow, we're ranked, great, okay, that's great, but this is one season. If you look at what they're losing and what they have next year, it gets really, really worrisome. And I just don't know how that's going to turn the tide. And you could argue about how Konzo operates and how he doesn't, but I mean, that's the concerning thing for me is like, this is a one-off season. I don't think it's like a sign of a program that's going to be a contender every year. And so that's worrisome. I think if you're a Missouri fan, beyond having to watch Mark Smith, and that's worrisome enough.
Yeah, what happened? Mark Smith went from some like stud guy, a Mizzou guy, to all of a sudden forgetting how to shoot a basketball, airballing clutch shots. When Javon Pickett is out shooting you, I mean, come on. That's an issue. When Mitchell Smith is going 1 of 9 from the 3-point line and Kwanzo's not saying, hey, dude, you're a sinner, stop jacking up threes, and he's just like, nah, I'm going to go ahead and just start bricking some more. I think that's an issue. But I'm with you. I think you're starting to sway me. You and I had some arguments on Twitter about Kwanzo Martin. I think you're starting to sway me more.
No, and I love I covered the Michael Porter year, and I covered basketball all 4 years at Mizzou, and I graduated in 2019. So, and Konzo is an amazing person, amazing leader, like incredible human being that Missouri is fortunate to have. I say that with all sincerity, but I mean, again, it's like you get paid $3 million a year to win basketball games, and if you're not doing that, it's tough. I want it to work. I really, as in a lot, I don't know. I want it to work.
Yeah.
It's just, it takes sustainability. And I mean, look at, Mizzou people are going to turn off their whatever, but it's like, look at what's made Kansas so good is their longevity of greatness and consistency. That's what a program is. And
not picking Quinn Snyder.
Right. And I just don't see it. So, yeah.
I am here for all
Darren, the KU fan in the background, just laughing his ass off. He loves it.
I'm not a fan. I cover KU, so let's keep the objectivity there. It just does my heart good to hear McGrath just slamming on the Tigers because one, this is your first year in the top 25, and I mean, and you all have unrealistic expectations. I would have stood if Porter could have stayed healthy, and who knows how that 2 years ago would have turned out. But yeah, look, man, y'all spent a few weeks in the top 25, and now y'all want this man's head on the platter because y'all lose a couple of games. I'm gonna need y'all to, back up some. Don't put yourself on KU's level just yet right now because y'all trying to get back up to there. Look, KU's having a down year, so if you want to crap on KU, I ain't gonna stop you because they would be deserving of it. But come on, man. Yeah, I mean, y'all making it seem like Conlon needs to be fired and replace him with who? With what?
Bruce Pearl. Okay, we got to get out of here. No, I'm just kidding. Alec, we really appreciate your time.
Thanks so
Alec Lewis, beat writer, Royals for The Athletic. We appreciate it. Thanks for talking Mizzou. Thanks for talking Royals. Love to have you back on sometime soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. No, I'm going to be the bigger man with Kansas, just whatever. But I appreciate you guys.
Anytime,
I appreciate you guys having me, and we'll do it at some point. Stay warm, stay well if you can.
Yep.
We'll try as hard as we can. But thank you guys.
That was, again, Alec Lewis, Royals beat writer for The Athletic. We'll take a quick break right here. This is Darren and Sterling.
When the unexpected comes calling, bounce forward with Comcast Business. Bounce forward fast with internet speeds up to a gig. And bounce forward with the flexibility to update your bandwidth in just a few clicks. Get started with a reliable internet and voice solution from Comcast Business, starting at $64.90 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Call or go online today. Restrictions apply. New customers only with 35 megabits per second service and 1 voice line. Early termination fee applies. Equipment installation taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Call for details.
If you're interested in building a great career, the Missouri Army National Guard is interested in you. The Guard will pay you to train for a wide range of jobs, such as engineering, combat arms, logistics, transportation, and military police. The skills you'll learn are needed in the Guard and are in high demand in the civilian job market. Plus, you may be eligible for a $20,000 bonus and student loan repayment. Visit NationalGuard.com today. Sponsored by the Missouri Army National Guard, aired by the Missouri Broadcasters Association and this station.
A KC tradition since 1957, Hereford House is a locally owned steakhouse that has served generations of Kansas Cityans. Hereford House exclusively serves certified Hereford beef, which has been proven to be naturally more tender and flavorful than other brands. All their steaks are aged 21 days, hand-cut daily, and grilled over an open charcoal flame. This process provides a wonderful aroma and delicious flavor that cannot be duplicated by any other cooking method. Hereford House, Leawood, Independence, Shawnee, and Zona Rosa.
At Central Bank of the Midwest, we are focused on building strong communities across Kansas City. I'm Bill Ferguson, President and CEO. Our strong roots began more than 100 years ago in the heart of the Midwest and continue today across 5 states and 67 communities. Central Bank of the Midwest brings you the best of both worlds, a strong community bank with the resources and technology to deliver a legendary banking experience. Central Bank of the Midwest, strong roots, endless possibilities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, this is Justin Cole, Private Wealth Manager at Creative Planning. Over the last few years, we have grown to one of the largest nationally recognized wealth management firms in the country. While we are proud of our success, we're most proud of our Kansas City roots. We were founded in Kansas City and remain headquartered here because there's no place we'd rather be. We're Kansas City strong. Thank you, Kansas City, for giving us a vibrant community in which to thrive. And thank you to our clients for putting your trust in us. We don't take this lightly. If you're not a client, we invite you to reach out for a free, no-obligation financial review with our experienced team of investment professionals, CPAs, and lawyers who will work together to build a comprehensive plan for you. You can find us at creativeplanning.com. That's creativeplanning.com. Or by calling 913-338-2727. 913-338-2727. Learn for yourself how Creative Planning has earned our recognition as a top national wealth advisory firm.
Welcome back to Darren and Sterling right here on ESPN Kansas City, 1510 AM, 94.5 FM. Thank you again to Alec Lewis, Royals beat writer for The Athletic. That was fun talking some Royals, bleeping on Mizzou because it's so depressing being alumni from there right now. And again, Mizzou's had a good season. I'll give it. When you just fall off like this, when you're having a good season, just fall off, it's sad, Darren. It truly is. So let's switch. Talk NBA. I know you wanted to talk it.
Hold on. But you got to put it in perspective, Sterling. Look at where you all were last year compared to where you are this year. I mean, you're calling for the man's job. Look, before we talk to the NBA.
I'm not calling for his job.
Not yet, you are, but where you kind of trending, I was worried about that. But one thing that I caught while you were speaking with Alec in the last segment was it looks as though the Denver Broncos are going to decline Von Miller's $18 million contract, for next season. Granted, he's going to be coming off an injury, but if you're Kansas City, do you take a look at him? This is Von Miller we're talking about.
I think he's still going to – sure, I love Von Miller. I think he's going to cost too much money. $18 million was way too high after all the injury concerns he's had. He's not the same Von Miller of old. He's still a very good player. That was a bad
player. I would say the last couple of seasons, though, Sterling. I mean, it's not like they're playoff contenders now. I mean, they have a quarterback, man.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
Very different. How would his statistics matter any different than he's not playing offense? I'm not looking at wins and losses. I'm looking at his individual stats. They were bad. He is in the J.J. Watt territory of still an effective player, but he's not top end. I mean, that's where he's at. He's a good player, but not top end anymore, and that's fine. It's not worth $18 million a year, but I still think he's going to get J.J. Watt, whatever he's going to land money, that maybe $12 million. I think a team would offer Von Miller maybe around 12.
Let me ask you
that seems fair to me.
Let me ask you this. And look, we'll talk more NBA tomorrow, and this is just because we're talking this because this is what kind of broke on social media on Twitter right now. But if you had your pick, would you rather have him for that money, or would you rather have Frank Clark?
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, dude. Hey.
Well, again, I was also in the camp of I think that's way too much money to give Frank Clark because
I agree.
You can't.
But I'm saying, but we are where we are. So I'm asking, if you could, I mean, if you had your choice going into this season, who would you rather have? Would you rather have Von Miller, who you know? Granted, he's going to be coming off an injury, and he's going to be coming off to prove himself that he's still one of the best in the game. I push back on when you say he's on decline. He was injured last year, and that happened before the season, and plus he had COVID and stuff as well. So that happened before the season. So I think with this year off training, rehabbing, I think he'll be just fine, and I think we'll see the Von Miller that we saw. Because don't forget, 2 years ago he made All Pro, so it's not like he just had a steady decline. It was just last year that he had a season long injury. So I say that to say that I would rather have him. Knowing what he is able to do, and knowing that a team will have to game plan for him. They don't game plan for Frank Clark. They'll have to game plan for Von Miller. And look, he's already won the Super Bowl. He's made a lot of money. He may want to take a small discount from what he's made to play on a team that could potentially win another Super Bowl.
The only chance Kansas City would have is if they somehow got under from Frank Clark's contract, because you're not paying $20 million, and maybe 12, whatever he's going to command. That's just obscene. That's too much for the D-line.
If anybody can do it, we know Brett Veach can now. We say, hey,
sure.
We saw him touch water and turn it into wine now, so let's not make it seem like he can't do it.
I'm with you, but, dude, $50+ million on a $175 million budget to spend on 3 dudes on the D-line that underperformed already seems like a bad investment.
Shirley, you just said if he got up out underneath Frank's contract, which means he wouldn't be here.
Sure.
So that's the difference.
Well, once we get out from underneath that, then we can talk about this. That's just where I'm at. Would you rather have Von Miller or J.J. Watt?
Von Miller.
All right. That's a toss-up for me.
That's
a toss-up. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. This was Darren and Sterling right here on ESPN Kansas City, 1510 AM, 94.5 FM. Thanks for watching on Facebook Live. Thanks for watching on Periscope on Twitter. We'll be back right here live tomorrow at 3 p.m. So until tomorrow, we are out.